Do you ever kind of wing life? Like you just don't have a plan, you don't have an outline, and you just like throw it all up in the air and hope that it's going to turn out the best? Well, that's kind of how I've been in the last several decades of my life when I get these messages from spirit. And today sitting next to me is Jenny Macomber. And we were chuckling right before this because she just coming out Saturday, her brand new book, While She Was Dreaming. And we basically both really kind of just went with the flow on this and want to encourage authors out there, future authors and writers, if you thought of ever writing a book and saying, well, I don't know what to write. Well, Jenny and I did. We kind of threw it up in the air, and she's going to talk today about how this book actually developed by using her intuition and insight. So Jenny, thanks for coming on to have some fun with us today.
Thanks for having me, Gloria. It's always so much fun to get together and talk about our writing process, because it really was not organized on my part, and we ended up just having so much fun with it.
You know, Jenny, one of the things that stopped me actually from writing books years ago was when I used to do a lot of journalistic writing for magazines and stuff. And then when people saying, write a book, and you go to all these trainings and they're like, well, what's your outline? I'd sit there and go, outline? I need an outline. And while some people do require that and all, when I'm working, obviously, you know this, when I'm working with my writers, I want you to flow. I want you to see where your story goes. And that's kind of really what happened with this. So why don't we tell everybody your process?
My process was uncharacteristic, I think, for the way people envision writing a book. I do not do outlines. I never did those in English class in school. Oh my gosh, when I was asked for an outline, I cringed, because that's not how my creative flow goes, and that's just not how I work.
So you actually opened it up with an insight, right?
Yes. Yes, my story began from a personal experience, intuitive experience. I had a vision of a past life I had had with somebody, and it gave me an idea for a story. And so that's what this started off as. It's just a short story. And once I started writing it, I thought, oh my gosh, there is no way that I can keep this under 3,000 words.
And the thing is, when you first started writing, I thought this was all going to be about past lives. But boy, did your character, Natalie, start to bring on a whole new dimension to this. And if that had been written out, like originally, if you had written out your outline or your idea, would you have ever thought the things that Natalie, the main character, did in this book would have been on your outline?
No, I have to imagine that my outline would have looked very different from what the story ended up being. And I think, too, for me to have put an outline down would have severely limited that creative flow and the ideas that came through for Natalie. I would have had to just go off-roading.
Yeah. So Natalie opens up where she's being tied up, okay, to her bed. We, the reader, don't know what's going on just yet. And you open the first few stories with this kind of intrigue of her dreams. Where'd you get the ideas for these dreams?
Spirit. I had a past life experience where somebody, it was a male and I was female in that lifetime, and they had to dominate me. And they controlled me, they abused me, they were very, very cruel. And I never was able to shake that feeling, because when you remember something like that so viscerally, it stays with you. And that's what I started bringing out in the story. And as I was writing, I thought, okay, this was a past life for me.
So I'm going to ask you something there for a second. A lot of people don't believe in past lives. They just don't. And that's okay.
That's fine.
Are they going to get anything from this book?
Well, yeah. I mean, they don't have to believe in past lives in order to have fun with this. Right.
So what happens actually is Natalie, the main character, who's a clinical psychologist, and then realizes that she's actually an empath and an intuitive. the story plot moves on to other things in real life. And so people out there, I'm sure there's people out there, Jenny, right? You get that visceral feeling, you know something's wrong, but you don't connect it to anything else. But Natalie is helping to raise awareness, isn't she?
She is. Natalie is actually bringing attention to some very serious social issues going on right now. And they've been going on ever since the beginning of time. As a matter of fact, the research that I did for Natalie's Dreams was about in past social situations in different countries. And sadly, the treatment of women was going on decades ago. And to do the research, we find out that nothing has changed. Very little, if nothing, has changed. And Natalie is bringing those issues to light.
And she's also bringing a lot of other things to light through this, because, you know, Natalie had a very strict upbringing. So some of that she had to heal and work through, and how she's processing her information. You brought in some other characters in there that are very intriguing. And how does this all tie together? Is there a thread with all this in your story that makes this even more potent?
There's a few threads. I would say the main thread is that we have a growth process in our lives, and we all have innate abilities, whether we realize it or not. And we have to trust ourselves, trust our intuition, trust the feelings that we get, and trust ourselves to stand up for ourselves and in the power that we possess. And I think that's one of the main themes going through this story, is because Natalie learns to trust herself as opposed to trying to be what everybody else wanted her to be. She's learned to be who she is. And she's embracing that. And that's giving her strength and power.
And that's important for everybody out there, not just women, male, female.
Absolutely.
It's important for everybody to really tap into who they are, what their strengths are, what their gifts, and become self-empowered, because it can change the whole outlook of our future, like it did for Natalie. She went through a lot of things. Oh my God, she had a major accident in here, and her dog has a role. Tell us about Monet.
Monet is based on my own white German Shepherd, who is named Aspen. And Aspen was still one of my partners in life. I actually contacted a pet communicator after she had passed away. And Aspen said to me, when God sent you out into this world, he sent me with you. And I wanted to bring in, well, actually, it's not just that I wanted to, it's that I was guided to bring her into this situation, because what we don't realize going through life is that it's not just people that God or the Great Spirit or whomever you call the divine puts into our lives as part of our soul contracts and part of our guidance and part of our camaraderie. We're here to help each other on this journey as people, and our animals are too. And I thought that was very important to put in that story. And it just brought a whole new element, because I think anybody that loves their pet or their animal maybe will have an opportunity to look at them in a whole different light.
It was really intriguing, actually, to see how Monet was weaved through here. So for the people that are peeking out there right now and they're watching, what is one thing that you want to tell them about this book that nobody else knows yet?
Golly, I don't know, because I don't want to give away too much.
Just one thing. Intrigue them. Go intrigue them. What's one thing?
One thing that nobody knows about this book is that basically this character is me. Yeah. Of course, there's other aspects to her that are not.
What about the story? What's one thing nobody knows about one of these things in here, the story? You got to intrigue them. Let's intrigue them, because we want them to pick up a copy on September 18th. So go tease them.
Natalie's Dreams let's see, they follow her. So Natalie's dreams follow her, and she discovers that they've followed her through lifetimes, and they have followed her into her current lifetime.
Well, it also followed her into her practice, didn't it?
It did. Followed her into her practice.
And this client observed things about her, and this also actually becomes your plot twist in the story, so we won't give that away. But that really wasn't from a past life, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was just part of a common theme that had occurred throughout her life and was occurring in her life now. And it kind of shows how our past struggles will keep presenting themselves until we address them and until we can overcome them.
And Natalie does start to address them later on, and she goes to do some healing work with the shaman that you bring up.
Yes. Ben is the shaman. He is a Native American Indian, as is my heritage. I am Creek Indian. And I really wanted to bring the Native American heritage into this because of my own heritage, and because I grew up not knowing anything about the traditions or the customs, but feeling so very connected to it. And that's where I get a lot of my own spiritual healing from their connection to nature and to the spirit of everything, not just the divine spirit, but everything around us has an energy and a spirit, including, the tree.
So Natalie's also teaching us some things in here that could actually help us in our own lives.
Absolutely. Natalie follows a lot of the practices that I do to find peace and connection.
And does Natalie find that several of these characters in her current life have actually showed up in other lifetimes?
Yes, just like the rest of us. That is a fiction part in this story, but it's also a truth in our own lives, is that we come back with people repeatedly to help each other on this evolutionary process and this learning process in life. We have agreements with each other. And I do go into that just a little bit, enough in the book so that you understand, and encourage my readers to explore on their own about soul contracts and past lives.
And what I like too is that a lot of times fiction books don't have resources for people, like in your kind of story, because you are trying to also educate through the fictional story, but you also list a lot of these resources that you actually researched and places for people to go to get help, because there is a deeper theme and purpose to this book. You'll all find out when you read it. So yes, it's entertainment. Yes, it's got suspense. And yes, it's even got mystery and hints along the way that even our proofreader was like on edge, like turning the pages, and she's like, when's the next chapter coming?
Yeah. I think everybody that read it was dying to know what was going to happen, especially Patty. And I said, well, I don't know, because I haven't sat down to write it yet.
Exactly. And that was the beauty of this process. So, it's like when I'm encouraging like you and other writers and stuff, and we open this up talking about sometimes people don't write because they're overthinking, they're stuck, they don't know where to begin. And I encourage Jenny and all my writers, let's just let it flow. Let's see where it goes. So Jenny did not know where this was going to end up. And did it surprise you?
Oh, it completely surprised me. You had told me when I began writing, don't get married to the end. Have something in your mind of how it's going to end, but don't get married to that. And I didn't, thank goodness, because the end turned out nothing like what I had anticipated. And I've started scribbling a little bit from Natalie's perspective about the next book. And even now it's not going where I thought it would, because I have to take it from Natalie's perspective and not mine. So we'll all find out together as I write. What's going
Yes,
to
I'm
happen
excited
next?
for the next one because it kind of did leave us with a little bit of a curiosity. Where's she going with all this? And there's a
Mhm.
lot of that through this book, everybody. There's hints. So you're going to like want to be, oh, is this connected to this? What's going to happen to this? You might just be surprised that it doesn't go where you think it is, or you're absolutely 100% right because you're a sleuth.
Yes, I love mysteries and I love wondering and trying to figure out where something's going to go in a book or in a movie. And so I did a lot of that within my own writing. And I tried to do my best to keep people guessing. So I'll be interested actually to hear from people. I would love to hear feedback from people on the book as to.
Yeah, well, we would love for you guys to put a review on Amazon when you purchase it this weekend. You're going to see more little hints coming up. Jenny and I will be live on Saturday, September 18th, throughout her book release, telling you a little bit more about this, intriguing you more. Jenny, what chapter do you want to discuss on Saturday? Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those of you that came on, thank you so much. Be sure to check out Jenny's book on Amazon, releasing September 18th, and give her a review, a really good review, because this girl worked really diligently on here and really allowed for her character to come alive. And the best thing about books, tell me if you agree down below, that character should be fascinating and memorable and relatable so that when you walk away, you're calling this young lady Natalie like I do versus Jenny because she took on the personality and I relate to Natalie. I so relate to her. So thank you, Jenny, today for this and best of luck with your book. Let's go #1 bestseller.
Let's hope so. Everybody get out there and buy it for me. I would be ever so appreciative. Thank you for your support.
And there will be a special on the 18th, right? They're going to have a special price on it. Yep.
Yeah, we'll release it with a special price.
Okay. Thanks again, Jenny. Thank you for listening. And thank you for always supporting the authors of Powerful Potential and Purpose. And remember, when you're ready to write your book, let's get together because it might just flow easier than you think. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Melissa. You're next.